Felicidades a mis mujeres who are now the campeones del mundo. Spain have now won their second World Cup. But this time it's on the women's side, so I had to come through in my Spain jersey. Obviously, the men had the star in it. The ladies added it. Shout out to Olga Carmona, speaking of Real Madrid.
Yes.
Banged in the winning goal for the final. Also scored the winner in the semifinals. Just incredibly proud of the ladies for pulling it off. And, in a short time, I think last World Cup for 2015.
Peace to her father.
And
also.
RIP to her father who died, the day of the match. She didn't find out until afterwards. Looked like she was able to still enjoy the celebrations of the special moment, even though, as she said, best and worst day of my life. But no, just congrats to the ladies, bro, because as a Spanish football fan, obviously the men's team has had quite a legacy, and then finally 2008 to 2012, incredible era, 2 Euros and a World Cup.
Yes.
And then I got into the women's game the same time as the men's game. So 07, I started watching women's footy. The World Cup was then. And the Spanish women's national team, non-existent. Spanish La Liga, not even a thought, just because they weren't investing in it.
Yes.
But to see from then to now, to have already won the World Cup, have Barcelona walking all over the entire club scene like it's nobody's business, to have the youth team that won the U17 World Cup recently, then the U20 World Cup, and now the Senior World Cup. And I think the senior team only had one World Cup win before this tournament, bro. Yeah. So to see their growth this fast, I knew all you had to do is invest in the women, bring the tiki-taka, bring the culture to them, and they are going to dominate. And they have completely balled out, completely well-deserved, played the most beautiful style of doing it too. Shout out Salma Parueo as well.
Shout out Salma
Parueo,
man. Shout out Aitana Bonmati. Shout out Alexia Putellas.
Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Barcelona
Beautiful.
ballers in the Spanish women's national team, bro.
Salma, for those who don't know, is a gold medalist, youth world Olympic gold medalist.
So was it 400 or 200?
I think she won the 200 and 400 meter hurdles gold in the youth world championship for track, and only recently decided to only pursue footy, bro. Yeah. And scored amazing goals.
She's an athlete.
Athlete, but has the skill, has the finishing, the goals that she scored, bro. One of the most bright young talents in the world. And as I just said, we just won the U17 World Cup, so we got a bunch of other teenagers that are about to be in her position, so couldn't be more proud of them.
That's a tie.
But that's not all that happened, unfortunately. So to give some unfortunate context on what happened during the gold medal celebration, Luis Rubiales, who is the president of the Spanish Federation, kissed Jenny Hermoso on the lips while they were giving out the medals. Not the usual Spanish, 2 cheeks, because that is standard. Everybody does that. It's how you greet people. But on the lips, without her consent.
Her whole head.
Grabbed her whole head. There was no way she could have given consent. She already said that she didn't.
No bueno.
This has become an unfortunate fiasco to come out and kind of take away a little bit media attention, which should all be about the locker room celebrations, how much people in Madrid embraced them. They came through, they had a whole parade, the same parade that when Spain's men won the World Cup, when Real Madrid wins the Champions League, they go to Cibeles in the center of the city. Beautiful celebration. But instead of talking about some of those things, we're talking about this creepy guy. And so lots of protests have been about it. The players created a statement saying, we will not play for this federation or this national team until he leaves.
Even the men's too.
The men have been...
Guys like Borja Iglesias.
Yeah, Borja Iglesias.
Talking about it.
We saw in SF as well.
Bellerin was talking
Bellerin as well. The thing is, FIFA, and there's been a lot of updates constantly about this, but FIFA has stepped in and is giving an initial 90-day punishment for him where he cannot do anything footy related.
Yeah.
So in that time, they can collect all the information they need to then determine what the full-time punishment will be. But he's out of there. They just won the World Cup. This entire team and former players are saying, we will not play for this team if y'all don't get him out.
Bro.
The power's in the players, bro. Yeah. If you think about it even deeper to labor and ownership, the power's in the workers. So if they make this protest, they are going to get what they need. And then 11 technical staff have now joined them in protest. Everyone's against you, bro. It's over for your ass. So unfortunate that he had to kind of take some of the spotlight away, but I still want to make it about these women in face of all this adversity and the coach that they don't fuck with and all the protests before this.
Even before that.
Before this, all those issues, they still won the World Cup. When, maybe Spain's a great team, but y'all didn't know they were this good. To just wipe the floor with everyone, minus the Japan game.
There was a point,
incredible, bro.
There was a point when Jorge Vilda said, when there was like a talk about him like not bringing players to the World Cup, he was like, oh, there's thousands of other women in Spain to choose from.
Like crazy statement. From his mistreatment. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot to it.
There's a lot to it, but it's also been good to see kind of the footy media world gather around Jenny and the team and be unequivocally against him. Obviously, you're going to have some balls who say, oh, what did he do wrong? But I feel like the majority of anyone with a brain can see what was done wrong. And the other issue, or the other thing about it is that, unfortunately, it's not just Spain. We know France had so many issues with their federation. Jamaica, which I know, Josh, you might be talking about. Zambia's coach, I believe it was, had allegedly done some assault as well. So it's something that in the women's game, when they win, there's these sort of issues around it. And we talk a lot about racism in the men's game,
Nigeria
but sexism in the women's game is something that we just have to work to eradicate. Step by step. But
no, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about a lot of things and a lot of things that hold women's football back. You know, one of the biggest things about this World Cup is the fact that this is Marta's last World Cup. Greatest of all time. You know, somebody who's been the inspiration. Somebody in one of her last interviews talked about the fact that she didn't even have an inspiration or somebody to look up to. So to be able to see an organization that you said when you started watching women's football wasn't even there or had the structure to be able to produce, you know, it's sad to see the same type of things holding women back, but it's good to see the growth. And even within Brazil getting knocked out, you know, it was due to Jamaica, which is a team that's gone through a lot just to get where they are. So it's a lot of progress that's going on. Gets me excited, honestly, just to see how the future goes.
Yo, even for speaking of a Caribbean team like Jamaica, even Haiti making it to the World Cup, like I'm not so mad that like we were eliminated or that we left after the group stage, because one is the first time the women's team has made it to the World Cup, and we had a solid squad. Like just to see even like our star player Melchi Dumonet is 20 years old, like she'll be back in the World Cup, you know, and it was just the fact that also their first game was against England. They lost 1-0 to penalties. Second game versus China, they lost 1-0 to penalties. Third game versus Denmark, they were down 1-0 to penalty, which they ended up losing 2-0. In like the 97th minute, Denmark scored that last goal. So they were about to lose 3 games, 1-0 to
England
penalties.
was in the final.
You know what I'm saying? Which goes to show, they held England to, shout out to Carly Theus, who's, our goalkeeper, had like, 10 saves versus England, like 8-7 versus Denmark and China. So our defense was solid, but, the coach, he's not there anymore. He's not coaching the women's team anymore, but I just felt like there was, like, the defense is good, the players are good, we have some really good, pieces at all levels, at the goalkeeper, as a defense, and midfield and attack, but there was no clear structure or, like, plan from the transitions between the defense moving forward to actually score. Like, it just seemed like they defended, they knew how to move the ball, they knew how to play together, unless it was to go and score. So it seemed like when it got to that point, there was no organization or there was no real plan to go and put the ball in the back of the net. So that just made me feel like, okay, we just need better management. We have the talent there, but I'm super proud of them. I'm proud of the whole team, and they made their country proud, man. Like Grenadienne, and I can't wait to see them back on the world stage.
Bro.
It was a dope moment.
They'll be the second Caribbean country to make it to the knockouts. Y'all up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You said next World Cup. Next World Cup could be in either U.S., Mexico, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, or Brazil, or South Africa. So those are the options. So we might have it in the U.S. fresh off of the 2026 Men's World Cup.
One question I have just briefly for y'all is, after this Women's World Cup, what impact have y'all seen just in the footy space in the U.S. specifically? Because I have something that I want to share, but what do y'all have?
Can I share some stats around how
Please,
successful it was? So I'll
please.
start with some factual stats around it. So this generated $570 million of revenue, which is second only to the FIFA Men's World Cup of 2022 in terms of global sporting events. I'm not sure if that refers to ever or within the last year, but still, that's an incredible achievement. Along with all of that, it set attendance and viewership records daily. Among a plethora of impressive match attendance numbers, it was the most attended Women's World Cup ever. When it came to TV, China had the most watched match of the tournament with 53.9 million viewers, while Australia registered their largest television program in over 20 years.
Wow.
So any show in Australia, any TV, movie, whatever, this was the largest viewership on any television of anything the last 20 years in the entire country of any content, news, elections, etc. And the U.S. as well broke multiple viewership records as well. So put women's sports on TV, bro.
Yeah, I think the biggest
Shout out the Gist for
impact,
the info,
or what
but,
that I hope, I still see it as like there's still that little handicap I feel in the football space. Like I'm still seeing comments for women's footballers should just stay in the kitchen. Hey, they're cooking on the pitch, so maybe they'll cook you a meal too. I don't know, and then you won't be like, hey, they're talented in multiple ways. Because again, you have some of these women who, like Michelle Olizier from Nigeria, who, highly educated woman. She has a, what's the degree that she has?
I believe it's something in biology, microbiology.
But they're also balancing being professional athletes and doing so much more else, and they're multifaceted, they're versatile. And so, yeah, one thing that more and more I've been paying attention to women's football more, and I do hope by the viewership is definitely people are paying more attention.
A lot more attention.
I just hope that like on socials and stuff, the culture starts changing, and some of the things and like sly comments that people have been saying, like the whole staying in the kitchen
That's
thing.
deeper than sport, though.
Yeah, I hope that those start, kind of getting dissipated. And low key moments like the whole Lauren James and Michelle moment. I like those things, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it helps.
It's part of the sport. Right?
Yeah, it helps with the game. I love it. So
to answer your question too, I will say just seeing the women's football grow, especially from 2018, this has kind of been one of the biggest ways for people to express and like the things that have been growing to be there. Look at the kits. Even to the kits to be different.
Yes. Adidas ones we talked about, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you're talking about, there's a lot of handicaps in the space. It's up to us.
Yep. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it.
We've been doing it for years. You were saying, what's your answer to your own question?
Nah, for me, so I've been in DC for the past maybe 10 days, I guess. And I've been playing soccer like every day. If you're from DC, you know Jelliffe Rec, like everyone goes there. I have never seen as many co-ed games in the past 10 days in my life.
Dope.
Like, every time I go to the field, like for the past 10 days, it's girls and guys playing. And that's, it's what you usually, it's usually,
It's what you want to see.
It's what you want to see. That hasn't been the case growing up. Like, just like DC is a very international community, very international city, so there's always games going. But generally, games are like, yes, maybe there's girls playing, but it's like 1 or 2. The past 10 days, it's been even games, like 7-on-7, 8-on-8, like more girls than guys on the field. And I don't know, like it's been really, really cool to see. And like also the attitude that like everyone has had about it has been like, it's like normal. Like I didn't see any like, oh, we have to treat this person differently or that person differently. It's just normal. That's really cool because it means that like it's now been normalized, and that's like the biggest thing that you need. Because once it's normal, then you go, and then it just goes from there.